Hi guys, well it's 3 in the morning as usual and you get woken up. So I'm gonna make a video. I'm still see the white things? Yeah. Yep. So I'm sitting here and I'm gonna, talk about I don't know much about prostitution. I'm not a prostitute. I interviewed or talked to a couple women when I was locked up and being accused of prostitution by the very people that should know better. The police department, domestic violence, our hospital, Catholic charities. Yes, they should have some idea of trafficking. They put signs up everywhere. They tell you how they're going to cut down on it. They're going to, we're going to do better. Yeah, I don't want to get into all the propaganda, but so I will start to talk a little about what this is like and how everybody seems to think this is a joke on my page because they refuse to talk about the one thing that I am talking about, which is pedophiles, domestic violence, trafficking, and child sex abuse. I find it very interesting that every single person on my page refuses to talk and comment on what exactly I'm talking about. Oh, it's dust, or maybe you misunderstood, or maybe you're mentally ill, or maybe this, or maybe that, or maybe this. I mean, it's pretty repugnant. Don't comment on my page if you can't comment about the horrific state of trafficking. If you can't talk about your own experiences with maybe a friend, a family member, or someone you know struggling with domestic violence or child abuse, don't get on my page and make silly little suggestions about this and that. I'm a little tired of it. That's not what this page is about. I'm not putting out these humiliating things so I could have, and I went all through school and all through everything having these women sit around saying, well, maybe you can do this. And maybe, and they're not being helpful and suggestive. They know what they're doing. I know what you're doing and you know what you're doing. Okay? So just stop. And I would get more in depth with that kind of nonsense, but I'm a little tired right now. So I will continue what this video is about, and maybe I'll make one in the morning about that kind of nonsense. And it's basically gaslighting you. And they do it in such a sleek, interesting way. Please don't get on my page anymore and talk about dust. Okay, enough. Okay, this is set up to either get you into prostitution or traffic you. I already told you it could probably be $4,000 or $5,000 in these 2 months. Okay, $4,000 or $5,000. Who has that kind of money? Who has that kind of money to go into these dump apartments, get ripped off, and try to pay this back? Okay, it's a lot of money. Okay, and that's very easy to get you into prostitution, to get you in a low mode, to get you so you can't pay your bills. And this is pretty much what you face in these kinds of apartments. And what is a woman gonna do when she doesn't have assets, when she doesn't have a means to take care of herself? Maybe she has children, but she doesn't have a support network. Maybe she got laid off. Maybe she got fired. Maybe she, God forbid, these haters are so horrible. Maybe she is dealing with a drug addict. Maybe she is dealing with some mental health issues. Who isn't nowadays? Who isn't struggling with anxiety and worrying about how they're going to pay their bills or how they're going to feed their children or how they're going to eat? Okay? So just stop it already. This is why I did this channel, to bring some light and share my experience about growing up with some of this stuff, having an ex-husband that had no interest in being a husband, and then finding yourself at midlife again, having all these agencies, this systemic abuse that you go to for help, which I shouldn't even needed any, tell you you're a prostitute. I mean, if that isn't the height of idiocy and lunacy, I don't know what is. You go to the very agencies that we give all this money to. You spend your entire life working. You go there and they tell you you're a prostitute. Okay? And they thought it was hilarious at the jail. Get on the street and earn some money. And this wasn't from the girls that were actually working in some sense with prostitution. And you know what most of it was? To feed a drug addiction. Because you'd have to be pretty drugged up to do that profession. Okay? So if you can't talk about these sensitive issues, or you can't share in that vein, or you can't at least have some Don't get on my page and talk about bullshit, because I'm a little tired of it. These are serious issues that people find themselves facing, certainly now as the economy gets harder and harder for a lot of people, whether it's housing, food, taking care of their children, and getting a job. Then don't bother, because it's pretty repugnant. This is what my channel is about. This is what it is, trying to find support, because there's hardly any out there, because men will line up, snicker, and laugh about prostitution. And certainly now it's pretty repugnant, because if there are plenty of women that are into prostitution, pay them more. No, they'd rather force and condemn and coerce and fraud more and more women into it. Okay? And certainly when it comes to children, certainly. And I've experienced it growing up from the same set of individuals, and certainly when I got married, and certainly when I went to these agencies, forced to, because I certainly had enough assets to take care of myself in old age. And it's the same type of experience that I experienced when I was a little girl, 5 years old. Okay, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed in 50 years, and that's why I started sharing my story. Okay? And most of this, to wake you up all the time, is to keep you in a low energy mode, so you can't get the kind of jobs that you need to get. So you have absolutely no energy. You walk around all day long like a zombie. You don't do anything because you can't do anything. You're not being allowed to rest properly. You're not being allowed to eat. You're constantly, your money is being pilfered, which mine is, the very little that I have left. Okay? And that is how it goes into prostitution or into trafficking, because that's basically what this is, modern slavery. You'll just keep, your money will keep getting scammed, because you're forced into situations that it's easy for criminals or scammers or people to take advantage of other people. That's where they operate. Because when you have those kinds of protections, and certainly if the police department is doing their job, then you're not so experienced, you're not so a target of those kinds of things. Okay? You're able to get a decent job. You're able to keep your car running. You're able to cook your food and get your food and keep your home and try to get a place to live and manage those kinds of things, so you don't fall into these traps. So you don't fall into the cracks, which I was told repeatedly, and they thought it was hilarious. And you know what was so repugnant is that they did it deliberately. Yes, it's so systemic now that they can take someone's life with enough assets to take care of them and strip you and take it all away, and the next thing you know, you're sleeping in a parking lot with nothing. Please stick to the topic of the channel or don't comment. Take care.